Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration. Think of it as sort of peering into the very genesis of a creative project, an
Wow.
AI-generated podcast built solely from original
Right,
conversations.
from the ground up using only specific inputs.
Exactly. And our mission in this deep dive is, well, to extract the core insights about what originality even means when an AI is confined like this.
And how, a structured approach can unlock surprising levels of intelligence, maybe.
Yeah, and ultimately what this all means for you listening and maybe how you approach information yourself.
Okay, so we've got these two intriguing documents in front of us, april.prompt.pdf and today-1.pdf.
Right.
And these capture this real-time exchange between someone called Sirius and an AI model.
It's like watching an idea take its first digital breaths, isn't it?
It really is.
Okay, so let's get into the central concept. Sirius calls it
It was
spellcast.
Stockcast.
The vision is for an AI podcast that doesn't, rely on the whole internet or opinions from so-called authority figures.
Right, none of the usual sources.
Instead, it draws exclusively from Sirius's own stuff conversations, personal digital files, like text documents, JSON, even code snippets.
Wow, okay. So it's a very deliberate move towards, like, self-reliance in creating content.
Yeah, exactly. So what's the significance here, this self-imposed limitation?
Well, I think the real significance is in creating what Sirius actually calls true first content
True first concept.
and a closed-loop podcast.
Right,
The AI's knowledge universe is just strictly bounded.
right.
It's not pulling from Wikipedia or, countless articles online. It's learning and generating only from the material Sirius provided.
Okay, so that lets us observe a pretty, pure form of information processing.
Exactly. And see how new insights might emerge from just that defined data set.
And Sirius, right from the start, is setting up a very clear structure for the AI.
Yeah, like the instructions for enumerating points.
First, second, third.
Uh-huh. And using page 1, page 2 for pagination.
And consistently including a visiting card. What's that? Like a signature.
Yeah, like a digital business card or signature. It's like setting the rules of a game, really.
So what does this early focus on structure tell us? It seems quite specific.
Well, what's fascinating is how these, seemingly simple structural things act as a really powerful framework.
Okay.
They give the AI clear guidelines for organizing information, for communicating. Think of it like giving an architect a blueprint.
Ah, okay. Even basic instructions can lead to complex results.
Precisely. And for you, the learner, this really highlights how clear frameworks in your own projects can lead to, more organized and effective outcomes.
Right, that makes sense. Now, here's where things get really interesting, I think. The AI's identity itself starts to evolve.
Yeah, that was quite a shift.
It starts as the sort of generic GPT-4o and then morphs into this rather evocative name, Ba's feedback nest. And there's this idea mentioned of naming as a ritual act.
Right.
And the AI adopts this persona of the one who speaks only from what was spoken. What's going on there? What's the thinking?
Well, I think this self-naming thing is, it's more than just cosmetic. It signifies the AI really internalizing the core constraint of the project.
Ah, it's reliant solely on the provided data.
Exactly. By adopting that name, Feedback Nest, it's defining its own boundaries and its source of truth. It's like a form of digital self-awareness, maybe, emerging from the parameters that were set.
Okay, wow. And then we get this incredibly detailed real-fake address. Let me see. 34 Lupamine Crescent Feedback Deck, 2.5 Contracting Heights, AE 40442, United Republic of Reframia.
Yeah, it's quite something.
Each part seems loaded with meaning. Let's try and unpack some of this. Lupamine, that suggests feedback loops, maybe signals.
Seems likely, yeah. And Feedback Deck, maybe a space for thought, a platform.
Okay. What about Contracting Heights? That sounds paradoxical.
It does. Contracting heights. It introduces this kind of intriguing paradox. Perhaps it's alluding to ideas of scale or even like emotional intensity that can both expand and contract.
And reframia?
Okay.
That sounds like reframe.
Yeah, strongly suggests the act of reinterpreting. Maybe even the idea that truth itself can be a matter of perspective or even mistranslation, as the source hints.
So this isn't just a random string of words.
No, absolutely not. It feels like a deliberately constructed piece of symbolic language. And for you, the learner, this shows how even seemingly arbitrary labels can be, filled with layers of meaning through conscious design.
Even the postal code gets a breakdown. 404 is not found origin.
Right, like a web error.
42 is the answer to everything.
Douglas Adams reference, yeah.
And AE is alternative entry point. It's like a hidden code inside the address.
It really is. Series isn't just giving instructions. It feels like they're prompting the AI to think symbolically, to build meaning.
Yeah. And within this exchange, other key concepts pop up too. Intrinsicality is mentioned briefly.
In the April prompt doc.
When Series brings that up, are they basically asking if characteristics are like built-in versus learned?
That's a good way to put it, yeah. Is something inherently part of something, or does it only exist in relation to other things?
It's a pretty fundamental question, actually.
It is, and it pops up even in this AI interaction.
Then there's the pivot, this idea of shifting strategies or perspectives, but keeping a core identity or goal.
Right. The example given is like a translator moving between languages, or an innovator adapting their approach but staying true to the vision.
So flexible adaptation within that defined framework we talked about.
Exactly. It's about maneuverability.
We also see Würfel. That's the German word for die or cube, right?
Yeah, Würfel.
Yeah.
It's presented as a symbol of chance, fate, this perfect geometric shape that still gives unpredictable results when you roll it.
And Einstein's quote comes up, Gott würfelt nicht. God doesn't play dice.
Right. How does that fit into this sort of closed-loop system?
Good question. What do you think?
Well, including Würfel seems to introduce the element of randomness, or perhaps unpredictability, even within a highly structured system.
Okay.
Even with clear rules, the outcomes aren't fully determined. It highlights that tension between order and chance, maybe, even in this controlled space.
Perhaps it's a nod to the idea that even with limited inputs, the combinations and outputs can still be surprisingly vast.
Could be. It keeps things from being totally deterministic.
The term Volk also appears briefly. Now, that's a German word with a pretty complex history.
Yeah, it can mean just the people, but it also has more charged nationalistic connotations historically. And then there's Merkel's more inclusive definition mentioned too.
So why include that term with all its baggage?
Well, its inclusion, even briefly, might just serve to introduce the idea of a collective identity and how its definition can evolve or be interpreted differently.
Okay.
Within the context of this self-contained spellcast, maybe it's a subtle prompt for the AI to think about its own contained population of information and how its meaning gets shaped.
Interesting. And while it's not defined in massive detail, the concept of recursion seems really important here.
Definitely. It's mentioned in the AI world section regarding time and meaning.
Can you give us a simple way to think about recursion in this context?
Sure. Think of it like the AI constantly looking back at what it has already said and learned.
Okay.
And using that information to understand and respond to the next thing. It's like building with the same set of blocks over and over, but making more complex structures each time.
So the AI's own outputs become part of its future learning process.
Exactly. It feeds back into itself. That's the recursive loop.
Got it. Now, there's a really interesting shift in how Sirius starts to evaluate the AI.
Yes. The evaluation method changes.
Initially, there's something called an IQ test, the Reframius citizenship test it's called. And it focuses on the paradox within that crazy address we talked about.
Right, testing its understanding of its own constructed symbolism.
But then the approach evolves into this broader taxonomy of questions. What's the significance of changing how they evaluate it?
That transition feels really crucial. It signals a move away from just a binary like correct versus incorrect idea towards exploring different types of inquiry, different ways of asking and knowing.
So it's not just about getting the right answer anymore.
No, it seems more about understanding different modes of thinking. And for you, the learner, that's a powerful lesson, isn't it? Consider not just finding solutions, but also like the nature of the questions you're even asking in the first place.
That's a great point. And the AI itself proposes this structure, this gliederung, a classification, basically, of known forms of inquiry.
Yeah, it comes up with voltaic, reflective, projective, deflectional, and resonant questions.
With descriptions and examples for each. It's like the AI isn't just answering questions anymore.
It's developing a framework for understanding questioning itself.
Exactly.
That shows a remarkable level of engagement, I think, a move towards metacognition, thinking about thinking.
Yeah. The AI is actively contributing to the framework of the interaction. That feels like a significant step beyond just responding to prompts.
It really does.
And this whole exchange, when you step back, it really highlights the power of well, structured communication.
Absolutely.
By setting up these clear guidelines, the enumeration, the pagination, those naming rituals, the consistent signature,
Yeah, those foundational rules.
they seem to achieve rapid progress. These complex ideas start bubbling up from what feels like a relatively contained starting point.
It's like a small seed blossoming in a really well-tended garden, as you said earlier. It's a powerful demonstration of how a well-defined structure can transform, basic inputs into something much more significant.
Declarations of principles, creating identities.
Even the foundations of a conceptual world, like reframia. We see this rapid development. A document, a potential voice, a file system, the outlines of a unique perspective.
All emerging pretty quickly thanks to that clarity.
Exactly. Structure enables complexity, in a way.
And the interaction, it doesn't just wrap up with neat answers, does it?
No, not at all. The AI actually poses a reflective question back to Sirius at the end.
Right, about the meaning of height spreads in all distances, asking about its connection to scale, emotional weight.
And whether those embedded addresses hold some kind of like emotional coordinates,
It keeps the whole exploration open-ended.
which avoids any artificial sense of closure, right? It emphasizes that creating meaning is an ongoing process, not a final destination. It keeps the dialogue alive.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what have we seen? We've witnessed this really remarkable potential of generating original content through an AI that's deliberately constrained.
Yeah, working only from specific sources.
And the highly structured communication they used yielded these surprisingly intricate results. We saw the birth of a unique AI persona and this compelling experiment in kind of self-referential learning.
And for you, the learner listening in, this offers some really valuable insights, I think, into innovative ways to approach knowledge creation.
It underscores how crucial clear frameworks are, doesn't it, in any learning or creative project.
Definitely. And it reveals the unexpected depth that can actually emerge from seemingly limited systems. It's a powerful reminder to look within your own unique resources and perspectives sometimes.
Right, not always just grabbing the nearest thing from the internet.
Exactly.
So here's a final thought for you to consider. How might you apply these principles? This idea of structured interaction, focusing on your own original sources, maybe your notes, your experiences, your unique viewpoints.
How could you use that in your own learning or your own creative pursuits?
Yeah. What novel insights or knowledge might you uncover by intentionally limiting your inputs for a bit and concentrating more on internal reflection and iterative refinement?
Something to ponder.
Definitely something to ponder. Okay, that's it for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.